Good morning to all of our attendees. We want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to join this webinar on the benefits of funerals and pre-planning them. Just a couple of housekeeping items as we begin. On your screen, if you tap it, there will be a question and answer widget as well as a chat widget. If you have questions during the course of the seminar, feel free to either post them on the question and answer widget or the chat widget, and we will make sure that those answers or those questions get answered at the end. At this point, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Jamie Allar as she walks us through the simple steps to advanced planning.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jamie Allar, and I'm with Bolger Funeral Home. I've been in funeral service for almost 14 years now, and it's been such an honor to help the thousands of families that I've worked with over the years. We're pleased to be able to assist families with this technology available to us. And while I miss the opportunity to greet you all in person, I am thankful to have the ability to help you all while keeping everyone safe at home. So we're here to talk today about something that will affect every single person, yet it's something most people have some difficulty discussing. It's so important to address this and prepare for it, not only for you, but for your loved ones. And the fact that you're here today and have taken this time to learn is a great first step. So kudos to you. When we consider the significant events in life that we prepare and plan for, things like getting married, the birth of children and grandchildren, education, and retirement, we rarely just let these things happen without thoughtful planning. And like other major life events, funerals require planning too. An estimated 34% of people over the age of 50 have planned in advance for themselves and or someone else. We see these numbers growing each year as consumers become more aware that this can and should be done. Most people, over 90% in a recent survey, agree that pre-planning is a good idea. So the question is not why should I pre-plan, but rather why wouldn't I? The key reasons that families share with us for why they pre-plan is important to consider. First, to lift the burden for loved ones, both emotionally and financially. The second reason is to ensure that things go the way you want them to. And finally, for peace of mind, knowing that you've done all you can for those you love. So people often ask, how much does a funeral cost these days? And while the National Funeral Directors Association tells us that the average cost nationally is about $7,000, the average doesn't take into account what we refer to as cash advance items. And cash advance items contribute to the overall funeral cost, but the prices aren't set by the funeral home. Some of those items would be cemetery costs, like the cost of the plot or for opening and closing of the grave, a headstone, obituary notices, a funeral meal, flowers, honorariums, and death certificates are a few of those items. Now, a simple cremation may start at around $2,000, while a traditional full-service burial funeral could reach close to $20,000 when you consider all of the cash advance items. Funeral costs are typically increasing faster than the cost of living, about 4 to 5% per year on average. That means today's prices could be double in about 14 years, and we know how quickly time flies. So when considering what type of service will work best for you and your loved ones, we'll discuss some of the basic options. And it's important to know that there really are no rules or one size fits all. When we use the term funeral, this typically refers to a formal service based on religious or cultural traditions. The body is present in most cases, and because the body is present, funerals generally take place within a few days following death, before burial or cremation takes place. A funeral can take place in a church, at a graveside, at a funeral home, or even at someone's home. while a memorial service is typically held without the body present, and it can be scheduled days, weeks, or even months after death occurs, allowing time for family and friends to gather. In fact, as some of you may have heard about recently during this pandemic, many families have opted to delay services, and they're currently being limited to just 10 people at a time. A memorial service can be elaborate or simple and may be held anywhere, at home, in a park, graveside, in a church, or at a funeral home. And if you're looking for some unique ideas, I encourage you to take advantage of the free personal session that will be offered at the end of our presentation today. One of my favorite ideas for a memorial service was for a self-described sweet tooth whose service was to include an ice cream social complete with signing that said, "Life is short, eat dessert first." Some additional options to personalize the service include military honors for veterans, a butterfly or dove release, photo displays or a video tribute, raising funds for a favorite charitable organization, hosting a meal or reception at a favorite gathering place, or even serving a favorite food item. I remember working with a couple recently who pre-planned for their favorite bakery to provide lefse for the meal gathering, which was a family tradition of theirs. Just a little brainstorming can result in a great idea to make your event special and personalized, and we are here to help you with this. So when considering, we are on the wrong slide. So when considering a service or gathering, it's important to remember that this is a gift for the people who will need to grieve their loss and honor your life. And I hear people say, "I don't want a funeral," which is usually code for "I don't want people to make a fuss over me." And that, of course, is human nature. But remember that it's also a basic human need for the living to honor loved ones who go before them. When we lose someone we love, ceremony is an important component of the healing process and a way to reconcile loss. So we do also have the option for those who wish to plan a very basic direct burial or cremation. Just know that anything planned ahead will provide that much needed direction at the time of need. And you can always add to or change your arrangements at any time. If you're choosing burial, you can pre-select a casket. Traditional cemeteries in our area do require a grave liner or a burial vault as well, which can also be pre-selected. You'll want to consider maybe what kind of jewelry or clothing for a viewing. And if you're choosing cremation and would like your cremated remains to be given to a family member, you might select an urn or other container. Other options might include a decorative ceramic piece or having ashes transformed into natural stones. You can even have your remains incorporated into a coral reef or gemstone. They've really come up with all kinds of unique and personalized options for cremation. So once you have an idea of what type of arrangements would be best to accommodate you and your family, a cost estimate can be provided, and this information will be important when considering your funding options. An important question to ask is, if something happened to you tomorrow, how would your funeral expenses be paid? For some, personal savings may be their first thought, but for long-term planning, the potential for encountering expensive long-term healthcare costs does pose a risk to savings. In addition, a surviving spouse may need to rely on savings to supplement a lost income. When we rely on other family members or friends to pay for funeral expense, there's always a risk they'll overspend emotionally. And many people aren't aware that oftentimes when death occurs, assets passed to the kids are frozen during probate, which can mean a family could be left to cover the bill before funds are accessible, sometimes for many months. So borrowing from family and friends may be an option, but asking for help can carry a heavy emotional toll. And finally, a credit card or loan could be an option, but there are interest charges to consider. So another thought you may have is I have life insurance. And life insurance is a wonderful option for passing a tax-free gift to survivors. It allows loved ones to maintain their standard of living after a death occurs. And funeral expenses are generally due at the time of arrangements, and life insurance generally takes weeks to process if everything goes well. This can leave the family to cover some expenses out of pocket until the claim is settled. By the way, in cases where a death certificate is delayed, this also delays the timing of the funds. And in cases of accidental death or if an autopsy investigation is involved, it's common to see weeks or even months of delay to receive those death certificates. Also, for long-term planning, life insurance with cash value is considered an available asset for long-term care. In other words, just like your other savings, most policies are not protected from creditors like the nursing home. Fortunately, there is an alternative that allows you to avoid the pitfalls I just mentioned. You can choose to arrange payment in advance with an irrevocable funeral trust, and this is designed just for the payment of funeral expenses. This is something that you accomplish through a funeral home. And once you've pre-planned your funeral needs, you purchase a policy for the amount that you'll need. When the time comes, your funeral provider will ensure that your wishes are carried out, provide the products and services that you've pre-selected, and have no additional work for your loved ones. Your family will never have to call an insurance company to start a claim or worry about juggling funds. It's all taken care of. So this is a very smart financial decision for a few reasons. First, you can secure prices, and as mentioned earlier, funeral and cremation costs are estimated to double every 14 years. You're giving yourself the freedom to make customized payments on your terms. You can pay in one lump sum or monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual installments over several years. When a funeral is not funded ahead of time, the full amount is due and payable in a few days. Funding your arrangements ahead of time relieves a huge burden from your loved ones, as the costs are immediately paid at the time of death with no interaction needed on their behalf. The funeral home files a claim and receives payment directly, and if there's any unused funds, they're returned to your estate. No one knows what lies ahead, and if medical issues require long-term care, your funeral policy, which is held in an irrevocable burial trust, will remain protected no matter what. Finally, what peace of mind not to have to worry about how your family will cope with all the decisions that have to be made quickly when death occurs. You're getting everything in order for them. Planning ahead is a gift for those that you'll leave behind, and I'm sure nearly everyone here can attest when someone we love dies, emotions are raw and tensions exist even in the best relationships. The potential for disagreements is far less when the key details are mapped out for your family and paid for. They'll be able to focus on their healing process and be confident knowing that they are following your wishes. And you can achieve peace of mind knowing that you've done all you can to make a tough transitional period a little easier for them. We will guide you through this 3-step process. So where do you begin? Well, hopefully you'll be inspired today to take action, and we'd like to offer you an opportunity to put some of the things you've learned today to work for you and your family. There's a link, there's actually going to be an email sent to you where you can register for your free gift card, which is our way of saying thank you for your time and attention today. And after that, you'll see my picture and my calendar with available dates and times where you can schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting. For those of you who may want to involve other family members in a discussion, I encourage you to extend a meeting invitation to them also. This technology allows us to bring everyone together from the comfort and safety of their own home. The meeting takes about an hour and there's no cost, no obligation. Customers often tell me it's an easy experience, even pleasant. So I look forward to helping you and anyone else you would like to share this with. I'd like to leave you all with a thought that a customer shared with me. He said, I never wanted to plan my funeral or anyone else's for that matter, but I figure if we all just plan our own, that'll be the only one we ever have to plan. And that sure would be a whole lot easier for everyone. Andy, are there any questions that we need to get to before we sign off today?
The question arose as to what happens if the funeral home goes out of business or the client would like to move, needs to move.
Oh, okay, great question. So that's one that we hear a lot, and I think it probably holds some people back, unfortunately, from starting this process. But the reality is, the plans that we create are portable, 100% transferable to another facility. So if the funeral home goes out of business, or if you end up moving out of the area, you simply take your plan and appoint it to a new funeral home of your choosing. So that's a great question. Were there any more questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention today. Again, if we can assist you with your plan and getting some additional questions on a personal level figured out, that's what we're here for. So thank you again for your time. I'll throw it back to you, Andy.
Thank you very much, Jamie. We appreciate all of our attendees today. Again, if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do so. As Jamie mentioned, she will be sending out an email with the link for your free gifts, as well as the link for her calendar if you would like to schedule a one-on-one Zoom meeting with her. Again, thank you for your time, and we're here to help at any point. Have a nice day.
Have a great day.